and that will be the cause for boiling the water. The boiled water is the effect. Similarly, evolution is an effect. It's not really the cause. It's not something, for example, there are other things beyond evolution. So study of the first cell, yeah, which is different from evolution. Now, if I asked you where did the first cell come from, most of the scientists will say we don't know. Yeah, the cell itself has got its own power generator. You know, the mitochondria, it's got its own source of power. It's got a cytoplasm, it's got a nucleus, it's got a lot of things in there, and I don't think it just popped out of existence, popped into existence one day.
That's why I mentioned the issue about the DNA.
Yeah.
I mean, what's his name? Stephen Hawkins.
Yeah.
No, Dawkins. Stephen Dawkins, the atheist, the master.
Yeah.
They asked him about this question of the origin, and they said where things come from, and he said at the end there was a cell at the end where it all starts from, and they asked him where the cell come from. Yeah. It must be because cell is contingent. So where the cell come from? You know what was his answer? Aliens. Aliens. So it's not an answer. Because where the aliens come from?
Just keeps going back.
Going back.
The DNA is a good point, actually. The DNA.
Where did God come from?
Say again?
Where did Allah come from?
Uncreated.
Wait. Before you say that, you know that question?
The same thing as saying aliens. It's the same thing.
That's a good question. What we say that everything we see here is contingent. When I say contingent, it means depends on something. So everything depends on something. We depend on things, and the sun, and also which means we go back to the sun, and the sun has atoms. Atoms depend on something. It comes to a point where everything must depend on something which is final. The ultimate provider, which has everything depends on him.
Yeah. By the way, that question I would say is a non-question. I'll tell you why. Because anything that is created is not God. So it's like me asking you,
That's quite a nice get out though.
No, it's not. It's like me asking you, is there a married bachelor? You see, that's a kind of question.
It's an
oxymoron. Because a bachelor, if he's married, then he cannot be a bachelor. So when you say who created God, automatically that question implies that you are thinking about a creation, not about God. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's a non-question. So if you know the term God, and by the way, the term God can be interpreted in so many different ways. But in Islam, we have the term called Allah, and Allah can only refer to the Almighty God. Yeah? Not the demigods and semi-gods and whatever other false gods are out there. It can only refer to Almighty God. And that is the reason we say that anyone who asks this question, who created God, they're talking about a creation. The question is about a creation, not about God. Because by definition, God is uncreated and He's eternal. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know the question, the point that brother raised about the DNA, that's quite an important point. You know why? Because if anyone studied the DNA, they will see a series of numbers, you know, like millions of letters in there, and they're all in the same order. In every living cell of the human beings, you know, it is in there, the DNA code. Now, when I talk about a code, there must be someone who coded it. If it's all consistent throughout, in all of the human beings, the billions of human beings out there, and is all the time consistent, then it tells you that there must be someone who coded this, who programmed it. See what I mean? And this is, again, you can verify this through any geneticists, that they will tell you that yes, it is consistent. And in fact, even between two people, it is not the same. And that's the reason by your DNA, they can tell you that how unique you are, and your fingerprints even tell you how unique you are. Your retina scan can tell you how unique you are. Yeah? And all of this, look, there's no way it just popped into existence one day. The cell, we are still talking about the cell, yeah? The most minute thing in your body. And the DNA is within that. Is that right?
Yeah,
and that itself is. So we are just talking about this. How did they come? How did this first cell come into being? How did the components within the first cell come into being just by itself? You know, there must be a designer. There must be someone who brought it into.
No, I was just going to say, but we didn't, as this, pop into the world one day.
No, I'm not saying we. I'm saying someone else much mightier than us, and that is where we refer to this intelligent design or intelligent designer, if you want to call it. If you don't want to call it God, that's fine. Yeah, because some people have, like they have some sort of a issue with the term God. It's kind of negative for them. But in reality, the thing is that there must be a cause for all of this existence. Yeah. So let me ask you this question: where did the universe come from?
That's a good question. Good question.
I don't know.
It exists, right? The universe exists.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything that exists, and by the way, do you believe that the universe actually at one point began to exist?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is what the science actually shows us based on the evidence. Yeah. So you heard of Edwin Hubble, who actually discovered that the universe is expanding, and he showed us about the redshift and all that, and that's how we know that the universe, which we know today, is expanding. It's not something which is finite. So at one point, if something is expanding, we know that at one point it must have converged into one single point. Yeah, and this is what they call the what is the word? Yes, the singularity. And even after the singularity, you know, we talk about matter, all the matter. You know when it came into existence?
You want me to tell you the date?
Not the date, roughly the year or the century or the millennia, whatever it is.
Billions of years ago.
They say 400,000 years after the singularity. Yeah? So when it began to exist, all the radiation, the gravitational force and all that, yes, whatever the physical laws of nature that we know today, yes, there was a time when all that did not exist. You know, the physical laws as we are today is not established. And even matter itself didn't exist at that time. And that's how we know that it began to exist at one point. And it's not something which is eternal, as there are hypotheses out there. So people have, you know, hypothesis in science is just like an opinion. Somebody makes an opinion, gives their opinion, and they say, okay, yeah, it is. What the scientists then do, they have a peer review, they examine all the evidences produced by this hypothesis, and then it raises it to the level of a theory. Yeah, like the theory of evolution, which you guys were discussing earlier.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
You just have to go.
Yeah, sure. So all I'm saying is that we have many opinions, we have many hypotheses out there, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're true. But when you look at what is being established, like the universe expanding and so on, this is established science, and we know that it must have a cause. So if you look at it from any angle, you know, anything that begins to exist must have a cause. And then you're asking, who caused the cause? It has to stop somewhere. You know, you cannot have an infinite number of causes. There must be a halt somewhere. You know why that is? Because of the principle of infinite regress, which means that, imagine I'll give an analogy. Imagine you want to borrow a book from a library, and there are infinite number of people in front of you. Would you ever get the book? Why? Because that's an unending line. The queue is unending. It's infinite. And that's the reason we said there must be a first cause. Yeah? For all of this existence to come into existence, there must be a first cause.
And I'm happy for you that you found your first cause.
Look, even, like I said earlier, if you don't want to give it a name, if you don't want to give it an identity, that's up to you. But logically speaking, there must be a first cause. And who that first cause is, when you have time, guys, you know, we can discuss that.
Decided who it is, but
For me, look, I know that the first cause is God for me. Yes. Anyway, Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.